There are days when everything feels heavier than it used to. Not just your body, but your heart. You move through the morning, doing what needs to be done, making tea, taking pills, looking out the window, but underneath it all, there is a quiet question that lingers. Why does this feel so hard? You may look around and think, I should be used to this by now. I should be grateful. I've made it this far. And yet, there is a weariness that settles in. Not just from age, but from something quieter, something harder to name. Sometimes it feels like you are carrying invisible weight memories, regrets, the loss of roles that once gave you purpose. And the world does not always make space for those feelings. You are expected to be strong, grateful, quiet, but deep inside you might wonder, is it supposed to feel like this? Am I doing something wrong? Why does it feel like I'm stuck emotionally, spiritually, even though the world keeps moving around me? The truth is, you are not doing anything wrong. Aging is not just about the body, it is about the heart. And the heart can get tangled in stories that were never meant for it. Today, we are going to gently name those stories, 6 emotional traps that make aging feel heavier than it truly is, and how you can begin to step free. It is not always easy to see the quiet emotional patterns that shape how you feel each day. They are not loud, they do not announce themselves. But over time, they make aging feel harder, heavier than it needs to be. Today, we will gently explore 6 emotional traps that many older adults fall into, often without realizing it. And for each one, there is a soft, human way out. A way to feel lighter, freer, more at peace with where you are now. You are not stuck. You are simply ready to unburden what no longer serves you. Trap number 1, believing you must stay strong all the time. Somewhere along the way, you may have picked up a quiet rule. Do not show weakness. Do not cry in front of others. Carry your losses with grace and silence. And while this might have helped you survive in difficult moments, it can also become a heavy emotional trap, one that makes aging feel lonely and exhausting. Many older adults feel pressure to be the strong one in their families. You may think, they have their own problems, I do not want to be a burden. And so, you hold back your tears. You downplay your pain. You say, I'm fine, when what you really mean is, I'm overwhelmed. Gloria, 74, lost her sister unexpectedly. They had spoken every day for 40 years. After the funeral, everyone turned to Gloria for support, comfort, and strength. And she gave it, because that is who she had always been. But at night, alone in bed, she stared at the ceiling with a tight chest and no tears. For months, she felt numb. It was only when a friend gently asked, when was the last time you let someone hold you? That something inside her began to soften. Holding everything in does not protect others. It isolates you. And your emotional pain, your sorrow, your confusion, your fear deserves to be witnessed, not fixed, not solved, just held. You are allowed to cry. You are allowed to say, this is hard. You are allowed to be vulnerable, because real strength is not in pretending nothing touches you. Real strength is letting yourself be fully human, even in front of others. Try reaching out to one safe person this week, someone who can listen without needing to fix, or write your feelings down just for you. Let the pressure to hold it all together slip off your shoulders, if only for a moment. Because you do not need to be the strong one all the time. You only need to be real. And that is more than enough. Trap number 2, measuring your worth by what you can do. You spent most of your life doing, taking care of others, managing a household, going to work, showing up for friends. You had a rhythm, a way to move through the world that made you feel useful, needed, important. And then, slowly or suddenly, that rhythm began to change. Maybe your body asked for more rest. Maybe you stopped driving. Maybe the things you used to do without thinking now take more energy or are no longer possible at all. And without those constant actions, you may have started to wonder, who am I now? This is one of the most painful emotional traps of aging, believing that your worth is tied to your usefulness. Harold, 77, had always been the helper. He fixed the fence, he carried the groceries, he drove his wife everywhere. But when arthritis made driving painful and his adult children started taking over tasks, Harold felt quietly lost. He would sit in his chair, feeling like the world was moving without him, like he had been gently set aside. And that hurt more than he ever expected. But here is the truth. You are not what you do. Your worth was never earned through your productivity. It has always lived in your presence, in your kindness, your wisdom, your way of making people feel seen. Even if your body slows, your soul does not fade. Even if your hands rest, your presence still matters. Try noticing the ways you still bring value just by being yourself. The calm you offer when others are anxious. The stories you share that make someone smile. The silence you hold that comforts more than words. You do not have to be useful to be loved. You do not have to perform to be worthy. Let yourself just be and know that being is enough. Because your true value was never about what you could do. It was always about who you are and who you continue to be. Sometimes the heaviest parts of aging are the stories we quietly carry, the ones that tell us to be strong, to stay useful, to never slow down. But you are not alone in feeling these things. If one of these emotional traps has echoed something inside your own life, I invite you to share it in the comments. You can simply write Trap 1 or Trap 2. Your voice might comfort someone else who thought they were the only one. And if these reflections speak to your heart, I hope you'll subscribe. This space is here to walk gently beside you. Trap number 3, comparing yourself to who you used to be. You might find yourself glancing at an old photo, maybe from your 40s or 50s, and feeling a quiet ache. You remember the energy you had, the way you moved through the world without thinking twice about your balance, your memory, your skin, your schedule. And in that moment, without even realizing it, you begin to measure today against yesterday. It happens so easily. You think, I used to be more vibrant, I used to be sharper, I used to be me. And that comparison, even if unspoken, becomes its own kind of grief. A slow, aching trap that tells you the best parts of you are already behind. Lillian, 80, kept a framed picture of herself at the beach when she was 42. She looked strong, sun-kissed, full of life. But every time she passed it, she felt a sting. Not because she missed the beach, but because she missed the version of herself who felt confident in her skin. It made her current self feel like a faded copy. And over time, she avoided mirrors altogether. But here's the truth. You are not a lesser version of who you were. You are simply a different one. And different does not mean diminished. It means changed, seasoned, weathered, deepened. It is natural to mourn the strength or beauty you once had. But your value was never in your waistline or your speed. It was in your soul. And your soul has grown even more beautiful with time. Try replacing comparison with curiosity. Instead of asking, what have I lost? Ask, what have I gained? Maybe more patience, more wisdom, more compassion. A gentler way of being in the world. Let your past self be a memory, not a measuring stick. She had her moment, now it is yours. You are not a shadow of who you used to be. You are a full, living version of who you are now, and that is still a beautiful place to be. Trap number 4, believing it's too late to start again. There is a myth that quietly settles into the bones as we age, the idea that starting something new is for the young, that first beginnings and bold steps are meant for people with more time ahead than behind. So, when a spark of curiosity stirs in you, a hobby, a move, a connection, you might find yourself thinking, why bother now? That time has passed. But this belief, though it feels practical, is an emotional trap. It tells you that your story is mostly over, that turning a new page is no longer an option, and that is simply not true. Sam, 82, had always wanted to learn the guitar. He used to imagine himself sitting on the porch, strumming soft melodies, but he never made time. When his wife passed and the silence became too loud, he remembered that quiet dream. He thought he was foolish for even considering it. But his granddaughter found him a beginner's guitar, and one morning, he sat down and plucked a single string. It was rough, it was slow, but it was alive. And so was he. Starting again does not need to be big. It can be as simple as reading a new book, joining a group, trying a craft, planting something, or saying hello to someone you usually pass by. You are not too old to begin. You are just old enough to begin more gently, with more wisdom and less rush. Let go of the idea that all your beginnings are behind you. Some of the most meaningful chapters are written later when the noise dies down and the soul finally has room to speak. Try this. Think of one thing you have always been curious about. Not to master it, not to impress anyone, just to enjoy it. Just to remember that you are still capable of surprise. Because it is not too late. It is never too late. And you, dear one, are still becoming. Trap number 5, thinking you must accept emotional numbness. There is a silence that can settle over your emotional world in later life, not the peaceful kind, but the kind that feels like the volume has been turned down on everything. Joy, sadness, excitement, even tears, they all start to blur into a quiet gray. And maybe you begin to wonder, is this just how it is now? You might hear people say it is normal to feel flat as you age. That losing interest or feeling disconnected is just part of getting older. And over time, you might stop reaching for feeling altogether because you start to believe that deep emotion is no longer yours to have. But here is the gentle truth. Emotional numbness is not something you must accept. It is not a sign that your heart has run out. More often, it is a sign that your heart has been overloaded with grief, with change, with too much silence. And like a tired bird, it has simply tucked its wings for a while. Irene, 79, used to laugh easily. Music would move her. Tears would come without shame. But after several losses and a long winter of isolation, she realized she had not felt anything in months. She was not miserable, she just felt nothing. Until one day, while watching a neighbor's child dance in the yard, something stirred, just a flicker, but enough to remind her that she was still alive inside. Feeling numb is not a failure. It is your soul asking for a little more light, a little more warmth, a reason to come back to life. Try doing something that once brought you joy, even if it feels distant now, listening to an old song, smelling a favorite flower, sitting in the sun, or let someone tell you a story. Let your heart remember how to respond. Your emotions are still there, not gone. Just quiet. And they will return, not all at once, but in whispers. You do not have to settle for silence. You were made to feel, and your heart still remembers how. Trap number 6, believing you're no longer needed. There may come a day or many days when the phone does not ring, when your name is not asked, when the calendar is empty and the silence in the room feels too loud. And in that stillness, a thought creeps in. Maybe I am no longer needed. It is a quiet ache, one that lives beneath the surface, especially after retirement, after children grow, after friends pass. You begin to feel like a chapter that others have already read. Present, but no longer essential. This is one of the most painful emotional traps of aging, not just feeling lonely, but feeling invisible. As if your time to matter has come and gone. As if the world is moving forward, and you are standing still on the side of the road. Walter, 85, used to be the center of his family. The one who gave advice, told stories, made everyone laugh around the dinner table. But as the years passed, he spoke less. Not because he had nothing to say, but because no one seemed to ask. Until one evening, his granddaughter sat beside him with a notebook. "Can you tell me about your childhood?" she asked. And for the first time in months, Walter's voice filled the room again. You are needed, maybe not in the same ways, but in deeper ways. The world needs your stillness, your stories, your wisdom. You might not carry groceries anymore, but you carry something greater. Perspective. You might not solve every problem, but you can offer presence, and presence is healing. Do not measure your worth by how busy you are or how often people call. Your very being, your calm, your listening ear, your quiet prayers, your open heart has more power than you know. If you feel forgotten, please know this. The world may not always see clearly, but that does not mean you have faded. Sometimes, people need to be reminded of your light, and sometimes you do too. Say something you have been holding in. Reach out. Speak your story. You are still needed. Deeply, fully, quietly, and most of all, you still belong. If any part of today's message felt like it was written just for you, that is no accident. Because the emotional weight you carry in this season of life, the questions, the quiet sadness, the wondering if you still matter, it is more common than anyone admits, and it is not a sign of weakness. It is a sign that you are still deeply alive. We explored 6 emotional traps today, each one subtle, each one powerful. The pressure to always stay strong, the feeling that your worth is tied to your doing, the habit of comparing yourself to who you once were, the fear that it is too late to begin again, the acceptance of emotional numbness as permanent, and perhaps the heaviest of all, the belief that you are no longer needed. But these are not truths. They are shadows, and once named, they begin to lift. You are not a burden for feeling deeply. You are not behind for slowing down. You are not lost just because you have changed. You are still here, still growing, still becoming in ways that may be quiet, but are no less sacred. There is space for your sorrow, and space for your joy, space to grieve, and space to hope again. Aging is not a closing. It is a turning inward toward a deeper strength, a clearer voice, and a softer kind of purpose. And if you ever forget that, return here. You are not walking alone. If one of these emotional traps touched something inside you today, I invite you to share it in the comments. Just write the one that felt closest to your heart. Trap 4, Trap 6, or simply, that's me. Your voice may comfort someone else who is quietly carrying the same feelings. And if this space brings you peace, I hope you will subscribe and tap the bell. Together, we are creating a place where growing older feels seen, respected, and gently understood. Thank you for being here. Until next time, take gentle care.